What's going on, everybody? My name is Tenebris.Infinite and welcome back to Generation Zero. So, the March update has finally launched on console, and I thought that this time I'd do something a little bit interesting. Normally, I kind of include my first impressions into the update video itself, but considering the update was delayed on console and this update is such a massive update, I thought it would be kind of fun for us to go into things here together and kind of see a lot of the changes that have happened firsthand here. So we're going to start off by looking at actually a combat factor of the game that has changed with the latest update. So, as per usual, they've changed up the Magnus quick kills, and I think that this is maybe the fourth iteration of Magnus quick kills that we've had in the game, and I gotta say, it's probably my favorite so far. There is borderline no auto aim that comes to aiming down sights from this most recent update. So that means that you're able to just kind of aim to where the crosshair is, pull the trigger, and bada bing bada boom, you're hitting what you're aiming for, unlike with previous versions where we've had to aim slightly askew from the target that we're actually trying to hit. This is really beneficial because it means that doing this Magnus quick kill at a further distance is now entirely possible. And a lot of times as well with the auto aim, you would wind up hitting components of the machine that you weren't aiming for. When you were just aiming for that quick kill, you'd sometimes wind up hitting a weapon instead of the actual fuel cell. So this change is really awesome. And I think I'm actually going to do a small video tutorial on how you dudes can pull off these Magnus quick kills as of the March update. So the next really big thing that I'd like to talk about here in my first impressions are the changes to the starter island, because they're absolutely massive. They're crazy, and honestly, it's got so much character to the starter island now, and I feel like this is a really excellent template that they can then use and bring to other regions across the map. With the previous version 2.0 of the starter island, it was really good, and it added some unique scenarios and unique set pieces that we could kind of look at and explore and enjoy. But I feel like this is more conceptually sound, especially in regards to the most recent DLC of Alpine Unrest. It feels like all of this is pulling together a visual narrative that is really strong and really cool to see expand onto the island itself. I'm really curious to see how this will be brought to further locations, but as I said, this is just a really awesome template that can be used moving forwards in a huge way, my dudes. So another thing too is I'm kind of planning on putting together a list of my favorite locations and the coolest set pieces that we've seen introduced to the starter island, as I usually do. So you guys can look forward to a top 10 list of that from me very soon, my dudes. So outside of the kind of more glaring changes of the reduced auto aim and the crazy introductions to the starter island, I thought it would be kind of fun to go through, recycle a whole bunch of guns here, and just kind of see how many resources we actually get from these guns and from the recycling process. So I've got two mule characters that are completely filled up with weapons that I've farmed over the span of the past maybe 2 or 3 months now, and it's all kind of been in preparation for an update like this. So it's really awesome to see that all paying off. I'm really curious to see how many resources we actually get back for all of these 5-star and 6-star weapons though. So some of my first observations from this are that maybe we could be getting a few more rare crafting resources from experimental weapons. I really feel like they should offer the benefit of, you know, getting like uranium and stuff like that, considering how hard they are to farm currently and how difficult it is to actually acquire them. But all in all, I wound up getting almost like half a thousand steel, a good couple hundred plastic, and a really decent dump of resources. I do feel like, again, resources gained from 5-star, from 5 crown and 6 crown weapons could be a little bit higher, but in the end, you know, it's good. It's pretty good still. It's a decent system, and it's really nice to see the weapons that we collect actually have some sort of a benefit to them. So I slapped on the jump boost stat because, as y'all know, jump boost was one of my favorite stats from back when clothing did have stats in the first place when the game launched. So currently the 1% boost to jumping really doesn't do too much, which is expected. But I do feel like in a kind of scaling scenario, you'll be able to see a huge benefit from higher tier crafting blueprints. The initial dilapidated blueprints that you can kind of find freely across the map aren't super beneficial because of the minimal stat boost that they give. So as just a little bit of feedback, maybe the dilapidated crafting schematics could actually have just like a little bit higher of a boost, maybe something like 5% or something like that in the future moving forwards. Of course, it does really depend on what those higher crown level schematics will actually do for us as the players. I'm going to be farming like absolutely crazy just to see if I can start earning any of these schematics from machines. So far in the community, we just know of the kind of set schematics that you can find in the world, but I'm really willing to bet that we'll be able to find higher tier crafting schematics from machines and from rivals specifically. Now, I can say that that 1%, though, does really benefit the advanced movement tech that I just made a video on for stamina jumping. You get 1% of a higher jump, but that 1% allows you to regain pretty much a full stamina bar per jump, which is really nice. Now, for the kind of final thing that we'll cover in this video here today, we're currently going through the anniversary event for Generation Zero, and there are these special fireworks that I haven't been able to obtain yet, but there's also something that they labeled an experimental gift that I was able to find, and man, is it cool! So we'll cover that in just a second, but right here, during this fight with the level 4 Apoco tank, I decided to try out menuing on the fly here, and it was pretty rough. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty rough. So I'm planning on putting together a little bit of an advice video for the devs on how they could improve the new inventory system. If any of you guys have any ideas for the new inventory system, especially PC players, because I myself am a console pleb, throw them down in the comments below so that I can potentially take some of your ideas and put them into a video format so that they can hopefully reach the devs in a little bit easier of a method. But yeah, really, switching ammo types is very difficult because you have to go into about 4 different menus in order to actually apply those bullets. And so one of the first things that I can think of that would immediately mitigate this is being able to apply bullets to individual weapons from the bullet tab at least in the menu. But this is the first iteration of this inventory system, so we'll see it improved as time goes on. So this is the experimental gift, an experimental KVM. We have experimental LMGs in the game right now. They might just be part of the event, but I feel like they're just added to the experimental weapon drops. And I was so lucky to actually find one on the first rival that I wound up killing. First max level rival that I wound up killing. But this is crazy, my dudes. This is absolutely crazy. This KVM has a chain lightning effect, which is insane. It is probably one of the coolest friggin' effects that I've ever seen. So that means that the LMG for the 59 has a kind of splash damage effect to it, a kind of Tesla coil effect to it that is super, super cool. I'll just kind of let this combat footage play out and you guys can see how cool this effect actually is. It's crazy. It's honestly one of the coolest weapon effects that I've seen so far in the game, and I'm really curious to see if there are potentially other new experimental weapons added to the whole list of experimental weapons we can already get in the game. Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest surprises of this update so far. And I'm just so stoked. I'm so stoked. Now, fighting machines feels like it's been given a whole new breath of life with the ability to obtain crafting materials, the ability to obtain these new experimental weapons that have been added to the list that seemingly are some of the most powerful experimental weapons we've seen in the game. Having a chain lightning effect on an LMG is a crazy, crazy powerful effect to have. And I'm going to be going in depth on all of the experimental weapons that I can find in the future. I definitely have my work cut out for me. There are so many videos that I have to put together for you dudes, but I am just so stoked to say that Generation Zero is alive and well. The March update is a fantastic update. Hands down, in my opinion, my favorite update that the game's received so far. And like, what a hell of a way to kick off 2020 here in Generation Zero, my dudes. So thank you so much for watching. You guys have been awesome. Look forward to those future videos, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.